Well, if you try taking a look at these cards, you see the first sort of problem that I've come across is that in many cases it's hard for me to read my own handwriting, and I am constantly using the magnifying glass when I do that, and a lot of it is written in pencil, and it's fading, so I have to redo it in ink in
Mm.
order to prevent it from disappearing entirely. So that's a technical problem. But assuming that that has been conquered, what I've done is I have a massive rearrangement of these cards in a more natural order, I would say. And I'm not quite sure how to do it. I mean, you can see that there's a whole bunch of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. There's 35 piles here, and it would be difficult and it wouldn't make too much sense if I tried to explain what each pile is doing. In fact, a lot of them are still unclear in my own mind. But, um, well, I mean, I could talk about some of them in some degree of detail.
That sounds good.
Um, oh, let's see. Well, why don't you come closer? Oh, I forgot about these things also.
Yeah, what have you got over there?
Yeah. Well, no, these are superfluous stuff,
Oh,
like duplicates and stuff like that. So, I mean, every time I need a new yellow card, I just take one of these things and I cross out what's on the other side, and that gives me a new card.
so you're not losing anything
Yeah,
important
that
from
doesn't
those?
help to it doesn't happen too often, but it
Okay.
does happen from time to time.
Hmm.
So things that refer to direct ethical things, in other words, what should be as opposed to what is, they're here. The basic, uh, shall we say, moral, ethical discussions are in these two piles roughly.
So is each card basically one book, or can it be a set of books that you're referring
Well,
to?
it varies from one pile to another. I
Okay.
mean, the basic unit is what's wrapped up in a single rubber band.
Okay.
But I try to arrange it so that the things in a single pile are related to each other. So one of these things could lead into another. And for example, this particular pile is organized in terms of age distribution. That is, where populations, the fact that they age over time is the, one of the central things about
Hmm.
their composition. So let's see.
So I mean, you're
Well,
talking about
I
demographics here.
yeah, demographics.
Oh.
Actually, there's another hunk somewhere else that should be on that pile,
Hmm.
but let's see. And I also have things like the distribution of human accomplishments and uh, differences between the accomplished and the unaccomplished is also in this pile somehow. But okay, well, I won't go into detail as to the individual pieces here.
Okay.
But that's one. In other words, you can talk about those things. Obviously, biological species would fit in here, and the human species would fit in here, and to some extent, the idea of physical things which wear out over time or have to be maintained, that would also be relevant to that particular thing.
Are you focusing on cases where there's an equilibrium though, where you're also getting new things to replace the old things?
Well, you have to do both.
Okay.
I mean, economics has focused on equilibrium, the so-called general equilibrium. Although there are variations of equilibrium theory which actually extend over time. Um, uh, I mean, in general, you can think of a complete system of prices which also extend to future prices,
Mm.
like as in the futures market, which are in equilibrium in the sense that once you've got there, each particular entity which can make decisions is uh, is content to do something that in effect reproduces it over time. In other words, the concept of equilibrium, which of course is also very important in the physical sciences, is something where you have attained a kind of stasis in a particular point of time, and it has no tendency to change.
How does the stuff on demographics fit in with the sort of like your larger program? Is it just sort of like understanding how the world is, and then that helps
Well,
you
it's
understand what to
just
do?
you can't extend it indefinitely. There are you talk about organizations. In many cases, the organization concept is not particularly organized in terms of aging, but it's in terms of how the individual parts relate to each other.
Hmm.
So yeah, I've got a big section there. Let's see how I would do this. I'm not quite sure how to explain what I'm doing here. I mean, I can more or less tell you a name of something that is. For example, the whole legal system is in here.
Huh.
And that would include things like the norms that you develop in a certain culture, the way the legal system works in terms of its organization, um, and well, let's see, maybe we could give you a quick rundown of this.
Would you say that everything you got here is sort of oriented around morality? So you're thinking about the legal
Yeah, I
system as
mean,
it relates to
ultimately,
morality?
I think of the whole world as being explained in terms of the greatest happiness principle. But of course, there's lots. You can't do this directly, so it has to be done in steps.
Sure.
So I was just taking a look at this. Um, okay, this is the section by Richard Posner. Um, his particular slant on the law. That's under there, and then we'd have the social structure of right and wrong. This is from the point of view of sociology, looking at law, and this would be pride, honor. Okay. Typically speaking, you do not treat all the other people you know as equal. You think in terms of organizations, the ethnic group that's closest to you, and then you've got the family, which is even closer, and so forth and so on. So you've got, you can say there's the concept of social distance is a very important one in general.
Sure.
And let's see what we have here. Okay, this is the interrelationship between law and psychology. For example, how the basic principles by which juries decide, the basic principle by which eyewitnesses testify. This is a general view of the evolutionary approach to the legal system. Jack Hirschleifer, etc. And this is the law of contracts right in here. Where do contracts come from? How does the legal system handle disputes among contracts? And I have property somewhere else. That's in a different pile. And conscience. Okay, here's the basic elements of human nature that lead to this kind of thing. So you have conscience, you have norms, etc., etc. Okay, well, I'm not quite sure that tells you what to do. Here's a pile on the various ideological positions that people have taken over the years, um, headed by this one, a sociologist, Randall Collins. I don't know if you've heard of him. The Sociology of Philosophies. This essentially goes through all known human history and trying to figure out the particular ideologies that you had at each particular era. And in general, he finds something like between 3 and 6 uh, basic ideologies which are extant at one time and which compete with each other.
Is that just focused on Europe, or does he take the whole
No,
world?
no, the whole world
Oh,
is of course he knows a lot more about Europe than he knows about other parts of the world, but he tries to be universal. So you've got, and finally, I'm singling out two particular types of ideology. That's democracy and liberalism, and that's in this pile over here. And well, I mean, I can go on and give you, for example, Darwinian evolution. That's here. This particular section over here is all aspects of that. And prehistory, it tends to be a lot in here. And the back row tends to be technical stuff, but not always. This represents the physical environment, changing climate and so forth. That would be in there. This represents, let's see, economics of the language. Well, some of these things are hard to describe in detail. And here we have statistical methods. That's over here. This is going to be probability in general. This is going to be Bayesian probability.
you're working on organizing those right now?
Say this
Are
again.
you working on organizing those right now? You say it's going to be, but
reorganizing everything,
I see.
and you have to do it that way because you got this is connected indirectly to a whole bunch of different things. So you got to say what should be close enough so that I could talk about it in on one single page and relate it. On the other hand, you have other things which go by the same name but actually have to be chopped up into little pieces because you can't talk about it. It's too broad and too vague. So so what can you do?
What are some of the biggest open questions you're working on resolving right now?
I would say I'm working on all open questions.
Okay.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I have one pile here which represents philosophy, but that's there are a certain number of things. I mean, I'm not going to talk about philosophy per se over a long period of time, but this is going to be. I use this as a resource pile to add as I go reorganizing other stuff. Now let's see. This pile, for example, I think is memory, if my memory serves me correctly. Yeah, the course of human history. Let's see. Yeah, theories of memory. And under memory, I have things like ordinary history, which of course would be what you would call social memory.
Sure.
And let's see, economic history, the nature of how history is organized. Well, okay, so that's that. And well, I don't know.
That's a good start there, yeah.
Yeah, what can I say?